Hi, I'm Case Lowe, co-host of the Open the Voice Gate podcast. The one question I'm constantly asked when it comes to Dragon Gate is, how do I get into the promotion? Well, stop asking and start listening to the Open the Voice Gate podcast, released every Wednesday on the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. For exclusive news and show reviews, look no further than the leader in Dragon Gate coverage, Open the Voice Gate.
Wrestling Omakase is back, baby. The weekly podcast that takes you across all the top promotions on the entire Japanese wrestling scene, from New Japan to Stardom, Noah, DDT, All Japan, Mari Gold, Dragon Gate, Tokyo Joshi, Sendai Girls, and a whole lot more. I'm John Carroll, a fan of Japanese wrestling for over 20 years, and every week I'm joined by a rotating cast of guest co-hosts as we break down all the top promotions in Japan, men's and women's. Check out Wrestling Omakase right here on the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network today.
Hey there, Thunder Buddies and travelers down Thunder Road. It's us, Days of Thunder, the WCW Thunder rewatch podcast that you didn't ask for, but we did anyway. Coming to part of... Oh my God.
Oh!
I completely bragged right before Voices of Wrestling.
Hang on, are we still on the Voices of Wrestling podcast network?
I don't know. Let's ask Joe and Rich. Daddy Joe, Daddy Rich, can we come back home, please? I hope I leave this in. Okay, right.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Hey there, Thunder Buddies and travelers down Thunder Road. It's us, Days of Thunder, the WCW Thunder rewatch podcast that you didn't ask for, but we did anyway. Coming to part of the Voices of Wrestling podcast network and powered by a large man appears.com. I am your host, your wife guy on Thunder Road, Dave Ryan. Joined as I am each and every week by my returning co-host. He is Stagger Lee Malone. Lee, how are you?
I am fantastic.
It's episode 100 in terms of Thunders. It's way fucking more than that.
I think we passed 100 a long time ago.
A long old time ago. It certainly feels like it.
Well, I mean, in actual time, it feels like a long time ago because
yes,
the listeners might not hear this, but Dave is so out of practice. He's flubbed the intro at least 3 times.
Yeah, and normally I'm if I flub it, it's once. You know, I'm such a broadcasting professional.
Yes.
Were
you going to say perfectionist there or professional? Because
no.
it sounded like
definitely
professional.
Not. Definitely not, because we did. Now, this was us kind of breaking a mirror or walking under a ladder before we started. I did invoke the time I accidentally left in you spilling a beer. So I probably cursed this whole recording process. So if you hear any of this, listeners, consider yourselves privileged.
Yes.
But it's a joy, a gas, and a sagacious experience to be back here, my friend. It's in the words of the great philosopher, it's been a while.
It's been a bit, all right. So
yeah, I suppose to extend my deepest apologies, because this hiatus entirely unforeseen and my fault. We had essentially, in the run up to 99, like, we'd come back, and we recorded a few episodes. And then it all went askew as I was coming into summer program season, which is like my busiest time in work, as has been. Look, this podcast has been around the block a few times. I'm not going to get back into that. If you want to, I feel like, I don't know if anybody out there, any Irish listeners, ever listen to the Blind Boy podcast, but he always starts his episodes. I kind of dip in and out of the show, but he starts it all by going like, listen back to explore the lore of the podcast. So, like, if you want to hear about,
you know what, that's a good way to start a podcast, saying, I'm not going to explain my bits, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, there's 100 episodes plus of lore back there, but suffice to say, summer is my busiest time. as it's when the teenagers are available to be worked with during the day as well as the evening. So my work hours essentially double for 3.5 months. And I am mentally no use after that. And then that backed into my wedding, my honeymoon, and a teething baby.
Yes. Look, I'm going to take a victory lap here because I warned you.
You
I was
did.
like, I told you, you have no idea of the amount of time that you are going to miss
Well,
based
no,
on baby-led issues and wife-led
look,
issues.
I assumed I'd be like our good friend of the show, Joey, who went to the hospital, saw the birth of his second child, and came home and hopped on Zoom with me to record a podcast without having gone to bed. I thought that's how it worked for everybody. Just turns out Joey's on that like super cocaine that they had in locker rooms in the 80s.
It's like when we were on the
Joey's sitting there listening to this go, what the fuck?
It's like when
guys are back 5 minutes after a couple of months and they said I'm on that super cocaine.
It's like when we were doing the Christmas show with Garrett and I explained that my wife was heavily pregnant and could pop at any moment. He's like, why the fuck are you doing a podcast? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's now you're a couple of months in now. Like how old is Dylan at this point? It's
6 months.
Yeah, so you're 6 months in
recently. Recently past 6 months.
And how are you finding it?
We've got much more of a handle on things now. Like I said, the teething has thrown things a little bit wobbly, but he's reasonably well regimented. The problem we ran into with recording with him before was that it wasn't that he hadn't figured out a routine. He was quite settled in his routine. It was that myself and Emma hadn't figured out the routine that works with both us maintaining our sanity and me recording a podcast on a weekly or twice weekly basis. So what I had been doing, for the keen-eared listener, you will notice the baby was in the room with me sleeping over my shoulder as I was recording the couple we did post first hiatus. And that wasn't working because my voice, when he hears my voice, he wants to wake up and play. So that wasn't working. So now we figured out a system where kind of like the nights I'm recording are nights where I just kind of pack him up.
Yes.
So you and your mom go and watch documentaries and fall asleep together in one room, and I'll come to my office and record where you can't hear me.
I just want to point out to all of you that are listening to this that Dave is in fact choosing WCW over his newborn son.
I think that's what the listeners would want. Even though I will say I do want to send my warmest thank yous to when we tweeted out and sent a message in the Days of Thunder Discord page that this is what we were going to be doing. Not used to it for internet discourse in 2025, but universal understanding and acceptance from the listeners. Not that I'm shocked, because we know a lot of the listeners who communicate with us regularly. I wouldn't have expected any of them to say otherwise, but it still is very nice nonetheless. It was very much the same when you took your sabbatical a few years ago, and I tried to soldier on in your absence. People were very understanding.
And I was not that stupid.
And look, one of the things, and you said it in the little post that you put up on the Patreon, which will also now content will be resuming on Patreon, more of which you will get announcements for in the interim. You had kind of said that where was I going with this now? Oh yeah, that nope, it's gone. This is the other thing about parenting. I have one brain cell left and it's fucking fighting for its life, lads.
We have reached a point in the show where it would feel that like doing the show without one of us wouldn't feel complete. Yeah,
that was absolutely it, because we are, I think, 6 to 7 shows away from That's the Wall Brother, which is 2 weeks before Reset Nitro.
Yeah.
So we would have, if you had kept going, we would be in a race against time for me to be back.
Yeah.
But now we've bought ourselves, we have this pay-per-view, the whole next pay-per-view cycle, and the pay-per-view after that. Yeah. And then we're into That's the Wall Brother, basically. I think there may be one Thunder additionally. But yeah, so we're kind of like that way. We haven't missed anything significant, because I think I've been talking about That's the Wall Brother Spring Break Nitro since we started this show. Yeah, and we both love, even though it had grim portents of the future, we both love the Reset Nitro as an isolated episode of television.
Here's a spoiler for you all for fucking like 8 months from now. That reboot episode we are going to put over so heavily.
Yeah, I genuinely, we've had talks about this, and I think we may have alluded to it on the air as well, that there's 3 episodes I think might be multi-part episodes. I'm not promising they will be,
Mm.
but the Reset Nitro, Bash at the Beach 2000, and the simulcast are the 3 in my head where I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a potential where there may be too much to say, and there may also be people I have ideas about like getting people involved in it as well.
Hang on, we might have structure to a show.
I mean, more structure than none. For those of you who read my show notes, that's the amount of structure we have. It's we go a
Yes.
lot off my memory, which, as I just displayed, is not fucking doing 100%
Yeah, I
anymore.
have to say, you know, to pull back the curtain a bit, I was like, oh, I watched a show a long time ago. Should I rewatch it? And
Yeah,
you came back with, I'm just going to do a rewatch in the background. I'll go off my notes. Now that
yeah,
we're here on the show, and you were saying your memory's got the pot, I'm not so
yeah.
confident that we're going to remember what happened on this
Look, we're gonna
episode.
wing it through this one, and then we'll know how much Lee needs to pick up the pen and write more studious notes.
I mean, that's not going to happen either way.
Yeah. So basically, how much worse this show is going to get now. But before we get into the wrestling, I suppose we'll talk about the wedding,
Yeah, I mean, we were
because
together in person
you were,
for a couple of hours.
in spite of the gimmick that we were never in the same place at the same time, even though you were working for a long time in the town I live in.
Mm-hmm.
We quashed that gimmick. We put it away in the cupboard for you and your lovely wife to attend my wedding.
Yes.
It's one of those things where, like, I'm sure it's the same of everybody, and it was the same of you at your wedding. But like, I feel like we had just over 100 people at ours, and it feels like, even though you were standing and walking and talking all day, that when you break it down into individual FaceTime, the two of us maybe spoke for a combined 5 minutes all day.
Yeah. But then,
Uh,
I'm not. Yeah, like I'm trying to think. I spoke to you maybe 4 times during the night.
yeah. And like, I'm gonna have to just trust your word for it. Like, I know I spoke to you at the little greeting line outside the
Yes.
ceremony.
Yeah.
I remember you finding me before you left.
Yes.
I remember,
We spoke during the meal. I came over and we had a chat for a couple of minutes with
yes,
your lovely auntie.
yes.
He was trying to poke and prod at your child to wake him up.
Oh, yeah. I was like, which auntie? I was like, yes, the one
Yeah.
that didn't get a cuddle. So she was constantly
Yeah.
trying to, like, anytime he looked like he was waking up.
Yeah.
I'll put over the baby Huge as being remarkably well behaved all day for
Oh, he was so
a
good.
6 month
Yeah.
old. There was one bit during the ceremony, huge pop from the room where his name was mentioned, El Hijo de Dave. His name was mentioned. And the baby made the one noise he made during the whole ceremony during that. He just
Mm-hmm.
did like a huge pop from the
Perfectly
room.
timed. Yeah. And
Was it
then yeah,
Keith Brony was walking around calling him Stevie Ray Ryan all day. So that's the kayfabe
um,
name on the broadcast.
and we did have a chat outside
Yeah.
in the evening time. But I have to say, and it was only after I got home and the next day I thought I was like, actually, we never got a fucking gimmick photo together.
We never got the gimmick photo. Yeah. So we could just delete all this and keep the pretense that, like, because I wasn't recording, you refused to attend. There's no
No,
beef.
but see, the issue is that during your first dance, I was standing right behind you and Emma.
Ah,
So I will forever be in your life whenever you guys go back to watch
yeah.
that video.
Where it was like less of a first dance and more of like a first mosh.
Yes.
Because that was the whole, like, we spent like a long period of time trying to figure out a way around doing a first dance. And I think we came up with a pretty good
Oh
solution
yeah,
by doing that.
it's
Just
great.
played a Blink 182 song and everybody just trashed on the floor. It was great. At one point, our little nephew came in dressed as Spider-Man and started
Took
flipping,
over. Yeah, took
and
over the show.
that
Yeah.
got huge reaction from the crowd. He got a Road Warrior pop in the building for that. But I suppose from your perspective again, because like I said, I was walking around all day, and by the time you met me on the patio, that was when my brain and body both gave up.
Oh,
Like, I'm really,
you were done.
my hip and my back are maybe just recovered now, and it's been several weeks since the wedding. Because apart from the meal, this is the other thing, you don't really sit down for
Mhm.
12 hours plus.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty rough. So how was it from your perspective? How was your wedding experience?
Oh, come here. I'd love to. I'll put her over, and not just because a friend of mine, but like the venue was great. A place I never knew existed, and like as you know, I'm only 30 minutes from where the venue
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Great venue. The great guests, great people. Like a lot of people I wouldn't have known, got to know during the day. Shout out to Jack, who's probably still listening to this episode at this point, maybe.
Yeah. We haven't finished the banter,
Yeah,
so Jack
yeah.
will get to this eventually.
Jack was great. He had great chats with my wife all day. 2 Chelsea fans, and Jack actually invited us over to London. He said he'd bring Jen to a Chelsea game.
Oh, amazing.
He also asked Jen to have another child so Chelsea could win another Champions League, and I said that's not going to happen.
Neither of those things are ever going to happen on your watch.
he did propose adoption, and I was like, that might end up with a Europa League. You don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that was great. Obviously, the food was top notch throughout the day. Actually, shout out to after the ceremony.
Yeah.
So while you guys were still getting your photos,
yes.
you get brought into this kind of room off the side of the main room.
Uh-huh.
So there was a pair of arcade machines fully loaded with, I want to say, over 150 games.
1,000.
What? Jesus.
Yeah, there's 1,000 games. Yeah.
I did have a couple of games of Streets of Rage in that. Not Street of Rage. Goldmax. Sorry, Goldmax.
Yeah, and there was the arcade cabinets. One was a Pac-Man one, and one was a WWF Superstars one, which I thought you'd love.
So shout out to the arcade machines. They were very popular throughout the day. The donuts. So there was tea, coffee, prosecco, free beers. There was also free beers on offer.
Yes, there was free beers and ciders. Yeah,
and there was donuts, packets of hunky dories.
Yeah. We had a crisp wall and a donut wall. Yeah.
A collection of sweets.
Pick and mix sweets. Yeah.
Great. The pick and mix sweets are still there at the end of the night.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, they're in our house now. The ones that are left.
But yeah, no, just come here. An incredible day. I don't know if Alan will listen to this, but it was great to see Alan and his significant other.
Yeah.
Katie.
I'm just waiting.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you.
Because I did it on the day
here.
as well. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
Alan. And I went blank. I was like, Kaylee.
Yeah. Kaylee, yeah. Kaylee.
So actually, the one couple that we did get a photo with, myself and Jen, was Alan and Katie. The professional photographer came over. It's like, oh, can you come over and get a picture in the lovely arch, the flower arch.
Oh yeah.
Outside, yeah. So I'd like to see that. Eventually, I'm sure we'll see that.
Yeah, they should be ready soon enough. From him.
But yeah, just a great day. Shout out to yourself and Emma for putting on a great party.
I'm noting here that you didn't put over my promo, aka the speech, but that's fine. We'll talk no more about that. That's all right.
I mean, look, there was one great speech.
But enough about Emma's dad.
I know, yeah. I mean, look. There was one great speech.
You don't often get wedding speeches that mentioned Cradle of Filth. In it. Yeah.
Listen, when you're hitting Benji Madden high notes in a speech at a wedding,
Yeah. But let's break down, because I know what the listeners are really here for. We got into it a little bit with the hors d'oeuvres there. But wedding snack talk is what we're really here for.
Yes.
And I'm sure people have wondered for these many months what I would put on as a spread for my wedding. And you've indicated there we had the crisps and we had the snacks and stuff like that.
I have to say, I did warn Jen in advance. I did say that the food at the wedding is most likely going to be very good.
Yes.
I said because Dave is very particular about his food. Mm-hmm. I think Emma is similar. She's maybe not as much of a foodie as you, but
yeah. And not when you say particular, like not in a picky way, but
no.
If we're going, my whole thing was my two priorities were like, if we're going to pay this money, food is going to be fucking good, and I'm going to make sure that the menu is top notch. The other thing is the thing I hate at Irish weddings. I don't know if this is the same internationally. Is there can be massive gaps of time in the day where there is no food.
Yes.
And some people are grand with that, and that's absolutely fine. And I have been at weddings where I'm just like, you're having such crack, you don't notice. But there are some days where you come to a wedding and you're already hungry before the ceremony starts.
Mhm.
So we wanted the ceremony to be short and the gaps between food to be short and the availability of food to be fairly consistent throughout the day. So that was the idea of the pick and mix, the crisps and stuff like that, is that even if there was no food at that current time, you could walk back into the orangery, as it was called,
Mhm.
and grab a bit of pick and mix and keep on going for the day.
I will say, seeing as you mentioned it there, shout out to your celebrant, because that ceremony was so short.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what we said. She goes, they can range from 25 minutes to an hour. And we said 25 minutes it is.
But yeah, no, the ceremony was so quick, like amazingly quick.
Now, I still haven't beaten my cousin's record. My cousin got married in York about 15 years ago. 7 minutes.
Wow.
7 minutes. Like that was.
What was Elvis the celebrant?
It was literally all our thing was literally the legally required bit plus like I think a couple of like there's a bit where like she kind of like tells the story of the couple and stuff like that, but literally it was kind of cliff note stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't keeping us too long. But yes, let's get into the actual menu then.
Yes.
When we sat down. So we have not talked about what you had, and there was options for each course.
Well, before we mention the food,
okay,
I want to mention one other thing that you had on that we haven't mentioned yet. So when we get brought into the room, my table ideally perfectly located next to the bar.
Yes. Oh, look, Lee, that was not a consideration of mine.
So I got to mention you had the his and hers cocktails.
Yes,
which are specials on the day.
Yep.
So the hers, and this is what they're called. I'm not saying this incorrectly. The hers cocktail was a strawberry daiquiri.
It was.
I didn't see too many people getting that one.
They actually ran out, but
did they?
I think they got less of it because I think they assumed that mine would be more popular.
So the his cocktail of the day was a particular favorite. There seemed to be a lot of people drinking this.
It was, I'll tell you, this particular beverage was a running theme of the day, regardless.
Was an old fashioned.
Oh, whiskey sour.
Oh, whiskey sour. Sorry, not old fashioned. A whiskey sour. Sorry,
whiskey sour.
Apologies.
Now we did have, as a backup, they had the makings of old fashions for people if they asked, but it was a silent option.
But yeah, no, the whiskey sour. It was. I saw many people that I did not expect to be drinking a whiskey sour.
Yeah,
consuming whiskey sours.
And
I will say I was only there for a handful of hours. I wasn't there late into the night.
Yeah.
And I consumed,
you peeled away like 10, 11 o'clock.
Yeah, and I consumed like 3 of them in the time post meal.
That was the other thing. Like the wedding, the ceremony was at 3 p.m. because I hate like a morning that like everybody's exhausted if it starts in the morning and then there's huge gaps. So like I wasn't even on site myself until 1 p.m. that day.
Oh wow. Okay.
Like Emma and the bridal party were on from 9 a.m. because that's when their preparation area opened, but they were just like, you don't need to be here till 1 p.m. So me, the lads, and the baby rocked up at 1 p.m. leisurely had a shower, had breakfast rolls delivered to our preparation area, and then got ready. But yes, I was very happy with the his and hers cocktail. Went down a treat, and I was actually seeing people have those more than they were having beers, which was crazy, like for an Irish wedding. Because usually, like now, there were people on the Guinness all night, and that's grand. Because I had also during my menu tasting visit to the venue had checked out the Guinness, and the Guinness was good. So
it did look a good point. It did, I would say.
The thing I didn't mention, maybe you didn't hear it, was that we had a playlist playing in the main building while you were all waiting for us to get back and everybody to get into the dining room. And
was that next to like I said, the laptop was nearby.
The former, before Spotify kicked us in the arse, the former theme songs for this very program were all on the playlist.
Oh, were they?
So East 17, Thunder in Your Heart, and Cerise by Ghost were all on it. And I was expecting to get a text from you at some point.
I must have missed Thunder in Your Heart.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Now the
I did know there was E17. I did hear that. Yeah.
There was one I was vetoed on, big vetoed on, by Emma that was just a pop too far, because just to get a reaction out of you, Mark, and Alan and Brony, I wanted to put in the Big Show's theme. But that was
I know Alan
bridge
would
too
love
far.
that in particular, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, because Brony did mention that the cult of personality seemed to be missing from the playlist.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
wasn't going to pay Saudi that money. But
But
anyway, look, the menu, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
walk me through, because like I'll be able to tell you what the actual thing was if you can't quite remember. But go for your starter.
So the starter was the chicken Caesar salad.
Yeah, chicken and chorizo Caesar
Chicken and
salad.
chorizo salad, yes. Chorizo was a particular hit, actually. Yeah, Jen was a big fan.
I had the silent vegetarian option for that because I like a soup, and my favorite soup is their silent option by default, and that's a potato and leek soup. I am a sucker for a potato and leek soup. And that's what I went for. Now, I had and loved the chicken and chorizo Caesar salad when we did the tasting, and that's why I picked it. But when it came to it on the day, I was just like, I knew it was coming for my means. I was like, I am saving myself here by having soup, something light.
I know that Paddy, who was sitting a couple of seats away from me, was on the vegetarian options all night.
Yes.
And he had the soup, and it did actually look really nice. But I have to say, the salad was pretty damn fucking good. I had got to say, as a starter, it was like perfectly, like just the right amount of food.
And then mains.
Then it was the mains. So we had a choice for the mains. It was beef. I know was one.
Yeah, and then there was like a chicken.
Chicken, yeah, beef and chicken, yes. So I got the beef and Jen got the chicken, and both went down very well.
Yeah.
So obviously they both come on a bed of mash. There was an abundance of potatoes and veg brought to the tables. I have to say the veg was the way I love my veg. It was chunky veg. It was fucking lovely.
Yeah. Not kind of wilted and melty.
There was also some pepper sauce or some kind of gravy I didn't partake in, but that was also brought to the tables.
Yeah, there was a gravy option, and it was quite nice. But I found like the amount of there was a bit of gravy on the. Was there a bit of gravy?
Yeah,
on the
there was a bit of sauce on the plate.
Yeah. The thing I loved about the beef, like I really, when we tried it at the tasting menu, was just that like you could talk that beef onto the fork. Like you did not need a knife. It was that tender. And I was really thankful that was the same, like it delivered on it.
100%. Yeah.
And like people did keep coming up to me and going, the fucking beef, man, it was incredible.
Yeah, and Jen, I'd say Jen had the chicken, and she thought it was fantastic as well.
Oh, look, the chicken was beautiful. And when we ordered it, so when you people who haven't done the wedding thing, you might notice when you go do a tasting menu in your venue, you can kind of order as many of each course as you like, and they hand you out, like we basically had 5 dinners in front of us, and we were just trying different bits and pieces. So the beef was actually the last one to arrive on our table the night we tried it. So we had tried the chicken, and I had tried the fish. Emma doesn't like fish. And I was set on it being. I was like, it's hard to say no to the chicken and the salmon here. Like it's really good. And the beef came in, and like we had been given these notebooks for tasting notes for everything. And all that's written in my tasting notes from the main course was 2 words: beef good, all caps. And the vegetarian option for that was like a dal curry.
I did see Body with some kind of rice type dish. I thought it was like a risotto type, but if you're saying dal,
it's very interesting that like, and this is something maybe you didn't clock. I don't know if you got round to it in the conversation, was that you were basically at a table of podcast co-hosts of mine. Like 2 of them were at the head table with me, obviously linked to the cast, Jack and Mark and Brian as well, actually. But Paddy was the co-host of the first podcast I ever hosted back when I was about 20.
Oh, you never mentioned it.
Yeah, so in the college we went to, I won't name it because we tried to find it at the wedding because at one point later in the evening we were talking about the show.
Hmm.
And it's all privated on. I must have privated it at some stage. And the SoundCloud is long since gone for that show. But yeah, we founded a student newspaper, me and him, because we were so sick of the one that was on campus at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a politics podcast for a couple of years in our very early 20s. He was like my first co-host and my first wife, and you're my more current podcasting wife. And it's really funny because then the person who got elected editor of the newspaper we didn't like was Keith Brony.
Fantastic.
Who I'll never forget. Who will never forget our first ever in-person meeting. Me and Keith Brody. He introduced himself as a fan of my work.
Oh, I didn't actually. One of the funniest things all night was
I think I know what you're going to say. I think I know what you're going to say.
I think it was
What?
post-speech. Post-speech.
Yeah.
Brownie was sitting there, and Paddy had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And a couple of people had, and there was a girl on the end of the table. I don't know her name.
Yeah.
Apologies, I wasn't really
Sarah.
speaking to her that much.
Yeah.
And she's
Girl
like,
with glasses, yeah.
I just had to ask, like,
Yeah.
are you the emoji guy off Ireland AM? And I fucking burst out laughing.
He made a beeline for me after this encounter. And he goes, "Did you fucking tell anybody about the emoji meme to get them to come up to me?" And I was like, "No, what are you talking about?" And then he told me the
Yeah.
story, and I was like, "That is fucking incredible."
But it was the way she framed it. She's like, I just have to know, are you the emoji guy off Ireland AM?
Ah,
It was the highlight of the day.
so good. Speaking of highlights of the day,
Yes.
dessert.
What was the dessert?
It was a white chocolate and lemon tart with cream and a raspberry coulis kind of sorbet thing.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Very nice.
Now, I wasn't mad on the sorbet myself. That was a kind of like Emma flourish for that, but the tart was immense.
I thought the tart was fantastic.
Yeah.
And Jen was all about the sorbet.
Okay. His and hers. There you go.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Did you get to try any of that? Were you gone by the time the cake was distributed?
Yes.
Because I didn't know until the following day that the cake had been distributed. Because there was late night snacks at 11 p.m.
Okay.
There was goujons and sliders and chips
Oh.
came out for the assembled guests, and cocktail sausages and things like that, and sandwiches. And that was when they served the guests the cake. So the following day, I had said to Emma, we were like getting ready to go down for breakfast, and I was like, "Did you see a fucking bit of that? We cut the cake, obviously."
Yeah.
I was like, "Did you see a bit of that cake?" And she's like, "No, I don't think they gave it out." And then we went down and asked people. They're like, "Oh, no, they did." I was like, "Oh, cool." So you didn't get to try it, which you would have enjoyed because it was a 2-tier cake.
Okay.
One tier was a lemon drizzle cake, and the other tier was a sticky toffee pudding cake.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
nice.
was tremendous.
That would have went down very well with myself and Jen, because Jen's a huge fan of lemon drizzle, and I do love a sticky toffee.
Yeah, my answer to that is yes. they are my two favorites.
Yeah, see, I'm not a big lemon guy, which is just I don't know. A lot of the time, lemon things can smell like cleaning, tools.
Yeah, we did go through a period when Emma was pregnant where she was craving citrus, and we knew it was reaching a tipping point when she said the floor cleaner in the house smelled delicious. I was like, we need to get you some Fanta,
Yes,
before something bad happens. But I am, as you say that, I am cracking open a honeymoon bought can of Fanta Lemon Zero to enjoy.
But yeah, no. Look, cracking food on offer. Also, like say, cracking drinks, cracking company. Look, it was a great day.
Yeah, I think I was like, it was funny because I didn't start getting stressed about the wedding until I finished work a week beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think from the night before, when we stayed in Navan nearby the night before. And I think once I got there, I reached a weird state of zen.
Oh, okay.
Where I wasn't worried anymore. And like people kept asking me, was I nervous? And I was so grand before the ceremony that I started like reverse psyching myself out, where I was just like, no, I'm grand, I'm not worried. Why am I so not worried? And then just started becoming worried because of that. So that was fun. But no, it was good. Like I was a little bit nervous, like when the speeches started, and I knew I was like the main event per se. I was getting a little bit nervous because you don't know when you're writing it. Only one person, my best man Brian, had read it before I delivered it, and I only finished it about 3 days beforehand. I was moving around bits here or there, and you kind of never know how stuff is gonna land. Like you don't know, like it wasn't hugely heavy on gags, which might surprise some listening. I went more for the heartfelt.
You
like,
did.
do you know what I mean? My not that I wasn't going to go heartfelt anyway, but the way I was kind of figuring it in my head was the chances of all my jokes landing is way lower than all my heartfelt stuff landing. The heartfelt stuff should land, except with the sociopaths in attendance. But the jokes I don't know. So if the speech was all jokes, which it shouldn't be anyway, it's the group speech at a wedding. But if it was like largely jokes, should we say, there's a risk of you dying on your arse. And I've seen wedding speeches die on their arse. And yeah, like it was grand. Like I was happy. Like it's one of the things it was the writing of the speech I was more worried about, the delivery, not so much, because again, between podcasting and like public speaking through school and college, it's
like, never been an issue for you. Yeah.
No, and my job is literally like I always say used car salesman, basically. Yeah. You own a room basically, like all day, every day in my job.
I was actually saying that to somebody on the day. I was like, I wish I had been doing a podcast in advance of my wedding, because I feel like my speech would have been so much more controlled.
Yeah. And sponsored by HelloFresh.
Oh yeah. Or me undies.
I actually saw those fuckers. I was in Dundrum Town Centre yesterday. This will be the last bit of non-wrestling, because this will pop some people listening. Is I brought my 6-month-old son to see Jaws yesterday.
Oh my god.
The parent and baby screenings are back now that schools are back. So
holy shit.
The cinema near me, and the cinema in Dundrum, and the cinema in Tala, and the Lighthouse Cinema in Dublin, which I really love as well, all do weekly parent and baby screenings. So during the summer, we'd brought him to Fantastic Four. We'd brought him to a Peppa Pig thing that was shite, but it was the only thing that was on for his first experience, because they hadn't started putting proper movies into the parent and baby rotation again. I brought him to see Superman. And then Jaws yesterday, which he was bet into Jaws.
This kid has seen more movies than I have this year.
Yeah. That's what I said to Emma yesterday, that this kid's letterbox is going to be fucking crazy. He loved Jaws. Emma had never seen Jaws either, but that's a separate issue.
Oh, what?
That's the second time I've seen Jaws this year.
Hang on, you married this woman?
Yeah, I know. I was doing the watch along because Blank Check, one of my favorite podcasts, did a Spielberg retrospective, the first half of his career. So I watched Jaws earlier this year when that was happening. But I was like, it's the 50th anniversary of Jaws this year, so that's why it's back out in cinemas. So I couldn't miss up. I had like how many opportunities you're going to get. Yeah. 50 years. But while I was there in Dundrum Town Centre now, there's a giant kiosk for HelloFresh. And I was just about to go, hey,
where's my fucking sponsorship money?
Yeah, get back on with us. Come on. You're in Ireland now. Anyway.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah, now that they're in Ireland, they need to reach out to us.
Yeah, us and Alan Farrell.
And Gar Kidney. The only 3 podcasters in Ireland.
Well, until we get Rover, Tom.
Yeah, obviously.
Maybe we can get Rover for the relaunch episode.
Do you want to do... Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. That'll be the one that breaks his 20+ year silence. Yeah. Anyway, do you want to do a tangent? Will we ease ourselves in with like a bit of methadone here and do like a half wrestling, half pop culture bit?
Let's go for it.
I just wanted to dip into, like, we know you don't watch a lot of movies, Lee. What about TV? Are you a TV's man?
Yeah.
Have you watched the show, because it's tangentially related to wrestling, Peacemaker?
I watched maybe 3 episodes.
Oh, Lee, what are you doing?
Now, listen. In my defense,
you're a piece of shit.
Well, I mean, that goes without saying. But in my defense, I have not had many late nights where I've been able to stay awake and
You've been a
concentrate.
5 a.m. riser for
Yes.
most of the last year. Yes, that's true.
Yes. Now, that is likely to change in the next little bit.
Yes.
And Peacemaker is 100% on my list of things to check out.
So, for those of you who don't know, it's hard to imagine somebody who doesn't know that James Gunn has taken over production at DC. But his first film during his brief period where he was fired by Marvel was to direct the Suicide Squad sequel, simply called The Suicide Squad, which pulled one of the worst comic book movies of all time, Suicide Squad, the David Ayer one, and pulled it back from the brink and made a fucking cracking film. One of the many highlights of which was John Cena as Peacemaker, this very like C-tier DC character.
Not John Cena-esque character.
Yeah. Like there's a whole bit from the first trailer about how like Idris Elba's character, Bloodsport, tells him to eat a bag of dicks, and he's just like, if that beach out there was full of dicks and somebody told me I had to eat every single one of those dicks for liberty, I'd do it. And basically his next project when he came back to DC then was to spin off John Cena's Peacemaker into its own HBO series. And some of the DC HBO Max fare had been really running under the spotlight because there's been an animated Harley Quinn show on for about the last 4 or 5 years with Katie Cuoco as
I've seen
Harley,
it. It's really good.
Brilliant.
It's really good. Yeah.
It's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
So that's been happening in the background, and then I was kind of like, oh, like if Peacemaker kind of hits those kind of irreverent notes as well, I think we might be onto something here.
That reminds me, I actually need to go back to that Harley Quinn show.
It's
I haven't watched it in a while.
Super good. It's super good. But yeah, Peacemaker comes out, limited run. I think it was 8 episodes last season, and the reason I'm bringing it up is that the second season is now on, and we are 4 episodes deep, of which I've watched 3. It's a huge recommendation, and the thing is, right, it's still undisputed number 1 that Dave Bautista is the best wrestler turned actor, and it's not even particularly close. I was worried at the start of his acting career that John Cena was heading down the route of Dwayne Johnson, where until now, the reviews for The Smashing Machine, the Mark Kerr movie, are outrageously through the roof. So I'm excited to see that. But up until this point in his career, the one thing you could not dispute is that Dwayne Johnson is always playing Dwayne Johnson.
Yes.
In every single movie. And that is what I thought was happening with John Cena, because it was like, not that he didn't make me laugh or entertain me in the bits of films that he would be in, but up until he played Peacemaker, and he's only kind of like, because it's an ensemble piece, that Suicide Squad, you don't see him doing much. He's like a comic foil kind of thing in that movie. I was kind of worried that that's where he was getting pigeonholed, that you hire John Cena to play John Cena.
Yeah.
And part of that is just his physical makeup. Like, he's a physical freak. You wouldn't pay him to do like, you know, like Batista's taken all these interesting roles where he's just like being quiet with tiny glasses all the time, in spite of how he looks. But you're not hiring John Cena for that kind of stuff.
John Cena's not going to be the boyfriend in a rom-com that's stumped.
No.
Yeah.
But in Peacemaker, like, he's shown a bit more chops. He's one thing that he's doing that The Rock, I think, spent a lot of his career not doing is John Cena is very much willing to make himself look like a tool and be the butt of the joke in a way that Dwayne Johnson's fragile ego has rarely let him. Like, we've all heard the stories about how him and Vin Diesel had it written into their Fast and Furious contracts about how they couldn't lose too many fights on screen.
Oh, sorry. I have to cut you off because while I was on holidays, Connor wanted to start watching the Fast movies.
Yes.
So I went back and
I got the podcast for him.
Oh, yeah. So we watched the first one. Now he hasn't come back since, so this will tell you.
Yeah.
We watched one and he's like, what's this movie about? And I was like, family.
You fully kayfabed him.
And he's like, I thought it was about cars. I was like, no. The story of Fast and Furious is family. And don't you forget it.
I'll tell you one thing. Listening to the show right now, Chris Damasceno has popped out of his shoes for that.
and he was so confused.
You're dead right. Yeah, you never explain anything else. They're about family.
Now, bear in mind, my son is 12. He just wants to
Yeah.
see shit go bang. He just wants to watch Fast Five. Like,
And no, well, the thing about it is, for him, right, the hardest ones to get through are going to be 1 and 4, right?
yes.
4 is the necessary step between what those movies were and what they would then become, right?
Uh-huh.
But 2 is very brightly colored,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of stunts in it. And Tokyo Drift, teenagers fucking love Tokyo Drift, right? The third
So
one.
that's what I was
4 is
saying.
boring.
Yeah.
4
So,
is boring as fuck, but you need to watch it.
he was like, "Does nobody die in these movies?" I was like, "Yeah." I said, "Somebody dies." I said, "But they also come back to life." But that's another story.
Yeah, that's another story entirely. And then once you hit 5, you're, as we would say in Ireland, sucking diesel then.
Yeah. So
Not Vin Diesel.
I must actually sit down now that I have a bit more time, and I'll start rattling through the movies with him.
Yeah.
But,
The super legitimate folder of purchased Fast and Furious movies that I had on my Google Drive for when we were doing Cast and the Furious, the folder is literally called "These Films Are About Family." So good, because if you'd sent Connor to me to explain it, that's literally all I would have said to him.
And that's why I didn't break it down any further. It's like they're about family, and that's all you have to remember. But
Yes.
sorry. So Peacemaker.
Season 2, I was a little bit kind of like hesitant, could they recapture the magic, but I am super interested in what they are doing in season 2 so far, and how it might. I think he feels James Gunn's stuff in DC feels way less. The thing about Marvel that is very exhausting and tiring is how they feel the need to tie everything into everything else. And I think James Gunn is way less worried about that. I think he will tie things in when you can make a cute reference and go, yeah, I see what you're doing there. But I don't think everything has to be the latest chapter in a broader saga.
Yeah, it's not an
Some stuff can be
overarching.
happening off.
Yeah.
Some stuff can be happening off to a side. Some stuff can be happening that never has an effect on other stuff. So it's pretty cool. I have an overarching theory of the case as to what's going on, and I'm waiting for somebody I know to catch up with the show.
Okay.
So that's going to be Jack Lazell, so that I can go, this is what I think is going on, because I think we're 2 episodes away from the penny dropping, and I think I know what's going on, and I want to be like, aha, I was right. But sadly, no one so far has volunteered to be that for me.
Somebody will hit you up in the comments on the show, and
hopefully, yeah. If you're still listening, Jack, fucking hurry up, mate. Like, I just need you to get to episode 3, and then, because like it's by episode 3 that I become fully certain what I think is going on. Yeah, maybe the big hint I will say that won't give the farm away: the new Colossus. That's all I'll say. Okay. That's all I'll say. I don't think that gives anything away, unless you're really into 2 specific things. Anyway,
I have to say, Connor keeps coming to me with these things that are supposedly happening in the Marvel universe. I'm just like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I do think we're going to get through the 2 Avengers movies that are coming in the next 2 years. I think things are going to simplify somewhat, because they seem to be doing a thing. They're doing Secret Wars, which is going to basically collapse the multiverse together, and there's not going to be multiverse stuff anymore, which I think is half the problem.
Yeah.
And then it seems like they're going to spend the whole next phase just slowly and quietly building up the X-Men now that they have the X-Men, which I think is a good, just take the foot off the pedal a little bit.
Yeah.
Do your X-Men shit, because people love X-Men. I love X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
Like, anybody who's ever received a personal email off me will know that, like, my Google avatar for years has been the modern X-Men symbol from the comics, the Hickman comics.
Yeah, no, because he came to me, he's like, Robert Downey Jr. is going to be back in the Avengers.
Oh, don't fucking talk to me about that bullshit.
And I was like,
because fucking Doctor Doom is one of my favorite characters of all time, and they're going to just fuck it so royally, man. We don't have that kind of time. Let's talk about wrestling. Let's talk about wrestling. Anyway. So, if you are new to the show and you've come in at episode 100, sorry about the last hour.
I was just going to say, how long are we into the show?
Like 50 minutes.
People are like, are you going to do anything special for episode 100? No, we're not. We're going to rattle on for an hour.
Fucking breeze. But anyway, let's talk Uncle Dave. So if it is your first your first Days of Thunder experience, we like to kind of give you a sousant for what's going on in the wide world of professional wrestling by seeing what Dave Meltzer was writing about in the Observer around that time. We usually go for the Observer right after the set of tapings we're talking about. So this is our Thunder this week is from the 16th of February, and this is the Observer dated February 21st. So
February 21st, also my birthday.
Hey.
So I would have been
that Dave didn't mention it in the Observer. Like maybe I missed it. Maybe I missed it.
So I would have been 14 when this episode came out, or this Observer.
So what I will say is I'm not going to read out them all, but this is, you will note if you're an age-old Observer reader that Dave would have a habit of tracking business trends over a rolling, in this case, 6-year period of time by literally just printing month by month, month on month, year on year, what the house show attendances were.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that bit, the gross data, not really interesting for me. You know, that's for your Brandon Thurstons of the world to dig into. I just want the analysis that comes afterwards. So I will skip to the analysis. Year on year, 99 to 2000, WWF attendance has increased 20%. So pretty healthy, pretty healthy. We know we're coming into the absolute peak of the Attitude Era. So 20%.
It's their peak year. Yeah.
Their Monday Night Raw average rating has increased by 37%.
Okay.
And then their buy rates have increased 23%. That is all.
That's really good.
Very, very good. Yeah. WCW. Do you want to guess the number? Like the percentage up or down year on year?
99 into 2000. They got to be down like 12%.
It's down 46%.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Almost all. They were holding strong for the first half of 99, and all that drop happens. Almost all that drop happens in the back half of the year.
Jesus.
Nitro had strong ratings going through March. And then after March, it took a 0.6 drop over a 1 month period, and then a second 0.9 drop between April and June, and a third big drop in October. WCW buy rates fell from an average of 0.93 to 0.55, which is a 41% drop in pay-per-view. Yeah. Biggest drop was April-May, after the Hogan-Flair Super Brawl match did the last big buy rate, and included the embarrassing performances for Fall Brawl in September and Starrcade in December, which we discussed at the time. They only sold out 15% of their house shows in the last calendar year, and only 2% after August.
Oh, and by the way, 2000 gets worse.
Yeah. They averaged 166,190 per house show, and only dropped to 142,669, which is only a 14.2% drop. But that's not because attendance didn't drop. As we said, attendance dropped massively. It's that they increased their average ticket price by about $5. Okay. Which covered over a lot of that. So then he gets into all the other companies. There's no point getting into that, but that's just to show you, just to put a marker for how bad things are getting. Do you know what's always an ominous start to a news story in the Observer, Lee?
Mm-hmm.
Vince McMahon was on a big media day on 210.
Uh-oh.
I'm only going to read one part of it because they talked about a lot of stuff he said, but I thought this was interesting. So he was on Fox News Network with Paul Azon, mainly promoting the XFL. He handled himself pretty well. You could tell the tone of surprise, but you could see that she seemed to lose respect for him when he said there would be absolutely no drug testing in the XFL.
Jesus Christ.
He said that was based on a lot of experience with drug testing and that it doesn't work, saying that the IOC and the NFL drug testing programs aren't successful because there are substances like human growth hormone that can't be detected in tests. While that is true,
well,
and it is true,
Vince would know.
While that is true, and it is true that the Atlanta Olympics were dubbed by athletes the growth hormone Olympics, it is generally believed steroid use is way down in the NFL since drug testing got a lot more serious, but it is obviously not a complete answer. He also knocked the NFL's drug testing procedure because they are legal over-the-counter food supplements, certain EAS brand supplements in particular, that players are warned against taking because they contain elements that sometimes lead to positive test results. It's so funny that it's been 25 years since this. And still, anytime like an MMA fighter gets popped by USADA,
It's over the counter.
it's the tainted
Yeah.
supplements.
Yeah.
It's always the fucking
Always.
tainted
Yeah.
supplements and the elevated liver enzymes.
I had a head cold. I had to take X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the Sudafed, man. That's what
Yeah.
it's got to be, not the fucking the crack rock.
So fucking every time anybody gets popped.
Yeah.
So predictable.
Yeah. He also, Dave brings in, because you know the brief period of time they had drug testing in the 90s in WWF, and he's like, you just need to like basically just an eye test for it did work when they did it. They just lost interest in doing it because if you look at the physiques pre 1992 and post 1996, they are starkly different to that 92 to 95 period of time when Vince was under investigation by the federal government and they had to try and look like they were doing something about it. It was very true. Like, again, you know, Brett and Sean were cut, and it's not to say nobody was doing anything, but like physiques were way less ballooned and cartoonish for that 3-year period of time, you would have to say. Yeah, just thought that was a pretty interesting one there. Just that it's so funny how quickly things change, isn't it? And sadly, how many deaths it took for things to change. Because like this is only 7 years before Benoit. This is 5 years before Eddie Guerrero.
Jesus, yeah. When you put it like that, like it. See,
it's six.
It's
So
funny,
it's
like,
what? It's about 5.5 years before the wellness policy. Like, because wellness policy is brought in the months after Eddie's death.
Post Eddie, yeah. Yeah, it's bad. Like, I don't think of Eddie being 2005, but I also don't think of him being after that. It's like,
yeah, it's that old. We did the Radicals Raw,
yeah,
and like we didn't stop to think like that man's dead in 5 years.
yeah,
2 of those men are dead within 7 years.
Yeah, and it's so odd. Like you know, I'm a big fan of going back and watching mid-90s wrestling.
What?
I know, shocking. But like whether it's ECW, WCW, fucking New Japan, whatever, I love going back and watching kind of 90s wrestling. In my head, I don't like. I go, it's 30 years ago. But then when you put things in a timeline, it's like, holy shit, that was so close to this. And it's like when you were saying there, like this was 5 years before Eddie, it's like, fuck, like that's like it's nothing. 5 years is nothing.
No. Yeah. It's nothing, but if you think like that incorporates the whole end of the Attitude Era, invasion, ruthless aggression era.
Like, but like you consider the physical differences between Eddie's last WCW appearance, where like you could see he was yoked.
Yeah.
But then you look at his last couple of months on SmackDown, and it's like, Jesus, this man's unwell.
Yeah.
It's mad to just hear that, like, be put into context of here's Vince into the year 2000 saying, yeah, we're not drug testing.
Let's move on to slightly funnier stuff, which is WCW being a shit show. The WCW turmoil story only seems to get worse by the week, accentuated by changes in the situation with Terry Brunk, Sabu, the dark comedy revolving around Scott Hall, Canyon asking for his release, and the potential debut of Chris Candido and Tammy Sitch being delayed due to them not getting a release from their ECW contract. So, for those of you who don't know, I think we might have mentioned it in a brief reading of The Observer that, like, for a while, everyone was like, oh, Sabu's coming into WCW in 2000. So Brunk was originally scheduled to be a surprise debut on the 214 Nitro, so the week that we were talking about here. But at this point, it appears he won't even be coming in at all, and his future in the US is temporarily in question. WCW were forced to drop all plans on him due to his contract with ECW, in particular the clause which calls for a filing with both Paul Heyman and with the court in Westchester County in any claim of a breach. WCW, in a letter to Heyman, said they have no interest in buying out his contract. Heyman had indicated to Manny that he wasn't interested in using Brunk any longer, but with his own promotion devastated by injuries, that could change. The Hall story has gotten completely ridiculous. Hall, who despite his track record was being pushed for the main event on the 220 pay-per-view show as a three-way title match with Sid Vicious and Jeff Jarrett, appeared while getting on the plane to Germany that he hadn't slept in days. Had reportedly told other wrestlers the same story, got sick on the plane going over and was in no condition to perform on the first night of the tour. Still, he did wrestle, and as punishment, on 211 in Hamburg, was asked to put over David Finlay, which he did. He got his wins over Finlay the next two nights, but his condition wasn't described as being much better. There were incidents every night at bars regarding Hall challenging people to fights and throwing cake at his girlfriend and moaning to many wrestlers about the breakup of his marriage. As he went to the airport to fly home with the rest of the crew, his condition worsened to the point that the authorities wouldn't allow him on the plane. Terry Taylor, who apparently had trouble with him all weekend, tried to intervene, but with no success in getting the authorities just to allow him on the plane to fly to New York for Nitro. Because of condition, he missed the Nitro at the Nassau Coliseum, where he was supposed to be in a major setup for the three-way, which led to the booking of a Jarrett Vicious singles match on the show for the US title, and Jarrett winning. So there's more stuff in there for he was supposed to be at Thunder tapings and stuff like that, but that's kind of the issue going on there. While this was going on, locker room morale continued to be on a low in the wake of the return of Hulk Hogan after his comments about Billy Kidman not being able to main event a flea market wrestling show. Several mid-card types were upset by the remarks since it confirmed what everyone believed from the start. Canyon, who had been friends with Kidman for years and was actually responsible for getting him into WCW, which was a little note I didn't know, Astra's released from his contract on 214, citing his own disappointment over not being pushed after 5 years with the company, and in specific, the Hogan remarks, saying that they showed what the top stars really think of the rest of the guys in the company. And he claimed he'd be happier working a regular job during the week and doing independent shows on the weekend rather than making bigger money with no chance of upward mobility in WCW. Bill Bush is expected to make a decision whether or not to let him out of his contract by the end of the week, but was offered a raise to stay. Due to the push Chris Benoit and the company have received and the fact they've made a difference in WWF ratings when given the chance, something they were rarely put in position to do at WCW when they were in that position and was quickly taken away, there is more of a feeling of wanting to be where the action is. So we're getting that situation where whatever about when Jericho went over, like it was a big deal on TV. Us as fans at the time loved it, but he didn't make a jot of difference to the ratings. The ratings were on an upward trend and you couldn't identify that he was any part of it. Whereas now segments with the Radicals are popping ratings. And this is leading to two things. People in WCW want to go where the grass is greener, and WCW are going to be more reticent to let people out of their contracts because we're not going to let more people go over there and hurt us. So you're going to see a few more stories like this, I think.
Yeah, this won't be the end of people asking for their release.
No. Harrison Norris, aka Hardbody Harrison, Bobby Walker, and Kazuo Ono, Sonny Ono, filed a racial discrimination lawsuit against WCW on 211. This will not be the last you hear of us talking about this story.
This rumbled on for a long time.
The lawsuit claims all three were forced to portray demeaning stereotypical roles as minorities in pro wrestling, which they were, and not allowed to get roles reserved for white performers, which they weren't, and also claim white performers earn more money than the minority counterparts, which I'm certain was true. One of the members of the legal team representing the wrestlers is former Georgia Attorney General Mike Bowers, who campaigned for governor in 1998, ironically enough ending affirmative action. Bowers accused Time Warner of hypocrisy for promoting racial stereotypes. At the same time, it condemned the same practices with the suspension of Atlanta Braves relief pitcher John Rocker for his comments in Sports Illustrated. The suit claims WCW violated federal racial discrimination laws, humiliated minority performers, and created a hostile work environment. The performers are also suing, claiming that wrestlers should receive the status of company employees and not independent contractor status. Good luck with that one, lads.
Wow, imagine that had gone through in the year 2000.
Yeah, which would enable them to receive workman's compensation benefits. Can I give a shout out there briefly, like just talk about the independent contractor status? Because look, there's way more. Dave actually does a really good job of giving context to the history of this company's issues with race and wrestling's issues with race. There's also a great FD Signifier is a video essayist on YouTube I like a lot, and he does a really good deep dive in wrestling's history with race. It's very, very interesting. Anyway, I wanted to come in. My brain is fucking going. Oh yes, yeah. I wanted to give a brief shout out to Uncles Joe and Rich because I was listening to the flagship recently after like a lot of my sabbatical. I wasn't listening to podcasts, but I listened to their segment where they were talking about, you know what would be the funniest nuclear button for Tony Khan to press because he could afford it is to make all of his
employees. Yeah.
all them employees and give them benefits and completely fuck the industry. Like, well, from WWE's point of view, fuck the industry and make it like much less economically viable for them. Look, if it was ever going to happen for wrestlers, I would want it to be for the right reasons, but I'll settle for spiteful ones if it gets people looked after and people stop dying. That'd be great, and people can actually retire comfortably.
Hey, listen, if this, Paramount, Skydance, Warner Brothers deal ever happens, I can see a circumstance where Tony just goes, "Fuck yous, I'm gonna do this before I bow."
Yeah. Who knows? But yeah, look, I'm not gonna lie. Don't hold out hope, folks who don't know what happens next, that this changes wrestling's issues with race overnight. And unfortunately, a lot of the people who are guilty of racial stereotyping in wrestling are still making money off wrestling to this day.
Like how bad do you think Chris Kanyon must have felt that he felt moving to the WWF in the year 2000 was a better move for a gay man?
Yeah, true. A historically significant news piece from Japan. Something seismic is about to happen. If you know the year, you probably know what I'm about to say. There are major rumors regarding the future of All Japan. It's being reported that Mitsuharu Misawa, company president, and Motoko Baba, the owner, aren't getting along, and this may split into two entities, with NTV going with Misawa, since the named Japanese wrestlers have all backed him in previous power struggles against the Baba family. Insiders are saying very little about this. So essentially, Baba is not long dead, right? At this point,
was it 99 or 2000 he died?
Well, this is 2000, so he's been dead a little while.
Was it 99? Yeah.
I want to say 99. We didn't cover it at the time, I don't think. I'm just buying time to Google. Yeah, 31st of Jan 99.
Yeah.
So what happens in the absence of Baba is that his widow, Motoko Baba, who had been basically his number two, even when he was alive, like she was helping a lot with the running of the promotion, becomes head honcho. Misawa is company president, and I think Booker. But as time went on, whereas like again, it's not that Misawa and Giant Baba got on 100%, agreed 100% of the time, all the time. But there was always a kind of like consensus or a middle ground reached, and there was like give and take, from what I understand. Not even like, I'm not talking about like Misawa as president. I'm just talking about him as the top talent in the fucking country. They had an understanding or respect and things like that. That love, that respect, not there with Motoko Baba. a lot of people talked about how hard she was to work for, how the company just slowly changed to something that people didn't like anymore, that the kind of the guys who had brought the company to the point it was at weren't feeling kind of appreciated or listened to with her. And then there's this power struggle between her and Masawa where he's feeling kind of more and more frozen out. This will ultimately lead this year to the exodus of almost everybody worth a damn from the company.
All but two contracted talents.
Yes. All but two. And the formation of Pro Wrestling Noah, which becomes
Yes.
like the most exciting wrestling company
Mm-hmm.
in the world for say, like, thank God for a lot of fans our age and slightly older that Noah existed,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a couple of year period of time when ECW and WCW folds, where it's desperate to be a wrestling fan,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's still too early for Ring of Honor to have hit its first peak, you know. Um, so for that few years at the start of the 2000s, all people had to cling on to that this stuff could be good again is Noah.
Yeah.
And All Japan has had ebbs and flows since. Like, there's been times where you think All Japan's on the come up. All Japan has never gotten within a fraction of the level that it was at after
No,
before
no, yeah.
prior to the Exodus.
Yeah,
It
no.
has never. All Japan, like, for those of you who are like younger fans who are coming into, like, obviously New Japan is dog shit to watch at the moment, but like it's still distantly the number one
Oh
promotion
yeah,
in the
yeah.
in the country. Um, you don't understand how much All Japan was the number one for that whole kind of late 80s through
Oh yeah, from
the end of the
like
90s.
what, the mid 70s through to the year 2000s, like New Japan and All Japan would regularly flip between one and two.
Yeah.
And obviously it was dependent on, like, you had the better wrestlers, you had the
Yeah.
better gaijin, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, no, like all Japan was one of the big two for all of
Uh,
that time.
yeah, and a lot of people would suggest, and I know I'm bringing them up because I love to bring them up in any circumstance, but a lot of people would indicate the flip that happens towards All Japan, where it becomes just this hot streak of the King's Road era, is around the time the Hansen jump happens, when
Mm-hmm.
Hansen shows up unexpectedly on
Oh
an
yeah.
All Japan show,
Mm-hmm.
is the moment. Now, like, we've kind of mentioned it sometimes in the Observer that, like, this isn't to deny that, like, New Japan are having a little resurgence in this kind of late 90s, early
Mm-hmm.
2000s. Like, the Three Musketeers is like their kind of answer to the Four Pillars of Heaven,
Mm-hmm.
essentially, and it has its own little. I would hasten to say it's on the level of All Japan. It's certainly not in terms of quality,
No, not in
but
terms of
it's
quality, but
drawing. It's
they
the
were
draw.
they were doing multiple dome shows every year, so like
Yes.
they weren't nothing.
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So they were drawing, but I would say we wouldn't hit that second golden age of New Japan until a young man named Hiroshi
2012.
Tanahashi
Yeah.
would come on the scene, and
Yeah.
Okada and the likes. But anyway, just interesting. That will develop over the year, and we'll
Yeah.
get back in talking about it. I think an interesting Patreon show at some stage would be to do some like early Noah.
I mean, the standout early Noah show for me is, and it's a show I've seen a couple of times, but probably not seen in God a decade plus, is the 2003 Mizawa Kobashi, the four singles match, which they
Yes.
do in, if it wasn't, I think it was Sumo Hall. They sold out Sumo Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the one, because again, I would have first seen that on the wrestling channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, absolutely. That could be something we could do on Patreon.
Yeah. Interesting little tidbit of news. There is a massive result, well, not massive, bit of an upset result in the world of MMA, where 41-year-old Dan Severn was beaten by an armbar in the fourth round of a fight against a little known 21-year-old called Josh Barnett.
Oh,
So this is the first kind of big result of his career.
future New Japan main eventer.
Indeed. Um, there is a bunch of stuff going on in WCW, but I kind of want to get to the show. So the only thing I will talk about is pretty funny. After the 214 Nitro, Sid Vicious confronted Mark Madden and yelled at him. Madden had
Oh,
made a remark on about the three-way, saying that Vicious may be the monkey in the middle, which is of course a kid's game. Vicious was told by somebody that Madden called him a monkey, and he was very upset about it. Madden tried to explain what he actually said, but Sid, I guess, with his head busted open and groggy from a possible concussion and jet lag from Germany, wasn't interested in hearing.
yeah.
Also, this is the best. In Philadelphia, apparently the hydraulics didn't work, and the demon was stuck in his coffin for over 3 minutes before they could get him out.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay.
That's
So,
just, yeah.
yeah. Oh, love this company. Right. Let's go. Thunder 100. Can you tell by how much we vamped that there's fuck all to talk about on this show? This is a fucking dull as dishwater go home show for a fucking pay-per-view.
Remember, like, whatever it was a couple of months ago, Tony did his big uh Dynamite, was it fucking whatever, 500 or whatever, and Collision 100 in the same week. And there was like build up for what, 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
He built this Collision 100.
Mhm.
You would have no idea that Thunder was
Nope.
100 episodes in,
I
because
think
it's
it was
never
mentioned
it's
one
never
time.
mentioned once. No, and it just goes to show the difference in like the way wrestling was then, because there was no, oh, this is how long we're on TV and aren't we great, and look at this fantastic show we've built. No, it was just another Thunder.
Yep. We get a flashback to Nitro to open the show. The countdown is on to the pay-per-view. Commissioner Nash made Sid, Hall, and Jarrett a three-way dance at the pay-per-view, and made Jeff versus Sid that night on Nitro. Flair on the show cut a promo on Hogan, who you might remember from the week before on Nitro. Package already took out. There's a whole thing where everybody in the company has a broken arm now. Pay more attention to that later.
Mhm.
And then he had also tried to take out Funk. Jarrett wins his match with Sid via belt and guitar shot. We need to pour one out, Lee, because the one thing that denotes this as being we are now in the second 100 episodes of Thunder, is that they've changed the theme song to something that seems like it was gotten in a 2-for-1 deal with the rave song for WCW Saturday Night now. It's dog shit. Not that the
Yeah.
Thunder theme song was great shakes to begin with, but when you get used to something 99 times, I
would say it was
good,
unexpected that it was changed, and I don't like it.
Yeah. Terry Taylor comes out to open the show. You got a rip roaring time when fucking
I really don't like that either.
Terry Taylor's your top of the hour. Draw the kids in. They're not going to change the channel now. Put down that remote, guys. He says Sid has reluctantly left the building to protect the match on Sunday. Jeff comes out, talks some absolute shite, then attacks Terry, hits the El Kabonk on him. They spray paint him, but it's really funny because they obviously didn't check the spray paint can beforehand. It's barely visible on the color shirt he has. This is like the exact opposite of when you wear white to accentuate your blood. It's like he literally wore something that was almost the same shade as the spray paint. So very funny. Did you notice when Tenay and Brain were talking, the funniest thing that happened on the entire show?
There's a CZW sign over his head.
A CZW sign behind them. Holy shit. It's one of those things where, Lee, like in that kind of the mishmash of history, when you try to look back at it in your head, if you told me when did CZW start, I was like, oh, like 5 years after the fucking invasion. Like it just didn't feel like, but yeah, I guess.
The only way it would have been funnier if it was actually Zandig holding the sign.
Yeah, that would be. But I guess the more you think about it, the more like, yeah, this CZW was already going before the companies folded, and IWA Mid-South as well. Like, so there were a lot of fucking rundown ass places for people to go to once those companies collapsed. We get Package, Flair, and Liz arriving. We then get to see the bracket for the Cruiserweight tournament, a rare sight of a bracket in WCW. Lash will face the winner of tonight's match. And a note for the show that Kaz is replacing Psychosis. who's had some visa issues.
They just come on the year and go, yeah, no, the bracket's not worth shit. Kaz is there in the match, even though he lost.
Here's the bracket. Forget about that. Kaz is in it now because Psychosis is not allowed into the continental US.
Oh man, that just fucking WCW.
Weirdly, given the context of what we've just talked about in the Observer League, but Scott Hall is banned from the building tonight and only appears over the phone.
I wonder what also he's been banned from this week.
Yeah,
apparently flying is one of them.
Yes, tournament semi-final match kicks us off. Kaz Hayashi versus the Flat Pack Sovereign himself, the artist formerly known as Prince Ikea. Miss Hancock immediately comes out to take notes.
Yeah.
Brain compliments her, and I quote, yams. Paisley gets into it with her verbally, and then Robinson ejects her, allowing Kaz to do a tope onto Ikea. You get these flashes of Kaz Hayashi where you're just like, there's a lot of wasted talent in WCW here, but you're just like, here's Kaz who shows up like once a month. And you're just like, this guy, he was green the first few times we saw him, but like he's just casually developing into one of the best wrestlers they have, and he's never getting out of this slot.
Yeah. And I think I've mentioned this before on the show. Like I remember among our friend group at the time when Kaz first showed up, and he had, those lovely black and blue, one leg each tights.
Yeah.
And on it, he seemed to have the 4 horsemen symbol, the 4H.
Yeah.
And then we're like, is Kaz going to be a horseman? Is this like, has he got his fucking tights too early or something? And like for weeks, we're like, maybe to bring back the horseman, it's going to be Kaz. Because they're going to have a fucking cruiserweight in the fucking horseman, like
Kaz and Mongo tag team champs.
But yeah, poor Kaz. I often wonder, was Kaz in like 2012 still showing up to shows in Japan with WCW superstar Kaz Hayashi on the poster?
I would. Very much like the Trevor Lee TNA wrestling superstar. Yeah. So, back in, Ikea dips under a kick. We get a shite dragon screw from Ikea, which Tenay, like, it's made even worse by God bless Mike Tenay, but sometimes he would do the thing that loses announcer's credibility, which was he'd oversell a shite move to convince you it was good. And he definitely did that on this dragon screw here. A diving DDT off the top for the win. We are in our wheelchair Nash era, by the way. So I can't remember if it is it a Thunder where the GIF happens?
I think it's a Nitro.
Okay.
Anyway, so we may not see it other than highlight package.
We may not see it, but our wheelchair Nash era with his scantily clad nurse is happening at the moment. He is cackling, learning what happened to Terry Taylor tonight.
I did think that was great. Mike Rain coming in and stooging to him about, Jared and the Harrises beat up Terry Taylor. And Nash just takes it in for a moment, then starts cackling.
Pisses himself laughing. And then says what I think should be his catchphrase. Girls, we got some commissioning to do. They wheel him into his office. Then we get God almighty, Norman Smiley versus The Wall. Man, like, it's so weird because like we're a matter of weeks away from when they finally do start pushing The Wall, but like I've never watched an arc of somebody in a company where they literally one show to the next don't know whether they're pushing this guy or not.
It's amazing. Like he's around since what, mid 99, isn't it? When Berlin showed up. Yeah,
well, remember they were showing the promos from early 99 and then fucking Columbine happened.
Yeah.
So they had to shelve that for months. So it feels like that was happening for even longer than it was.
I mean, Berlin was around. He was definitely on Road Wild.
Yeah.
So he's around since the summer of 99.
Yeah.
So we're now like a good 8 months into The Wall. And he's been pushed as, the tough guy. He's been pushed as a face. He's been...
Yeah, because he was put over Berlin clean in their feud.
Sorry, I'm saying pushed. He's been presented as, this tough guy, but yet loses. He's been pushed or presented as a face that loses. He's presented as a heel that beats everyone up, but still loses.
Yeah. And this is what's so weird. Like, firstly, I do have to say, like, he eventually loses the sleeves and it's a little bit better of a look. But
Mm-hmm.
while he's still in the baggy dress shirt, it makes him look like shit.
Yeah.
It's very Mr. Hughes energy.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing I was going to say about him is, right, you're wrestling Norman Smiley, who, like, his literal gimmick is that unless he's against the cruiserweights, Norman Smiley spends 90. I call it the normula for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
The formula of his matches is 98% of it he sells, and then
Screams
either
and
he
sells, yeah.
loses or he slips on a banana peel and loses, right?
Mm-hmm.
With that said, this is like 50-50 until the
Yeah.
end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Norman gets the heat on the wall.
Yeah. Norman gets to hit all his signature shit.
Yeah. There was a great bit where I thought it was going to be a squash where Norman gets like a flurry of offense, holds him off well for like about 30 seconds. And Norman feels his oats a bit, does a big wiggle and wiggles right into a boot and falls out through the ropes onto the floor. And I was like, okay, if this is now like a 90-second squash from this point, it's a perfectly booked match. But no, it's 50-50. And then as well, like he's green as grass, the wall. Like the end of this match is Norman has him in the mount position and is raining down punches on him. And Wall goes, okay, it's time to stop selling. Just stands up and choke slams him
Yeah.
and wins.
Mm-hmm.
Then he spends almost longer than the actual match looking for a table outside the ring.
Painful.
Tediously sets up the table and choke slams him off the apron through the table. And Norman presumably leading into this 3-count handicap match, selling that he blew out his knee.
Now, I will say the bump Norman took to go through the table looked nasty.
Yes.
But yeah, the Norman getting stretched out there and fucking selling the knee or whatever. But like, yeah, it's like, I know, like you say, it's a couple of weeks now from when they really fully get behind the wall. But like,
yeah,
as we say, it's been months now, and it's kind of there's a reason it didn't really take.
Yes. Nash backstage demands to get to the ring, but he's told by production the best they can do is get him onto the ramp, which is really funny because two things happen here where Nash just like exasperatedly is like, what the fuck am I paying you guys for? Basically. Can't understand why they can't just crack up a stair lift in like 2 minutes flat. But also I'm just like, why is he so obsessed with getting in the ring? Like, surely once he's out there, like he can't physically get involved, or at least that's what he's acting like. Next up, we have a singles match, which thank God did not outstay its welcome, and that was Heavy Metal Van Hammer versus Tank Abbott. I don't know, Lee, right? I am kind of, because it's happening to people I generally don't want to see have matches, I've been enjoying this, and I know you've disagreed with me, but at first I was really pissed with this match because Van Hammer starts to put the fight to Tank Abbott, and I was like, you can't just start building Tank Abbott and then have him go 50-50 like he's the Wall with Tank Abbott. Hammer kind of fights him off in the corner for a minute and then hits an Alabama slammer, and I was like, no, you shouldn't be doing moves to this guy. Because like what I will agree with you totally with before I hand this over to you, Lee, is they shouldn't have pushed Tank Abbott, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to make the concession that they've decided to push Tank Abbott,
Mm-hmm.
so far they've been booking him exactly how they should. Is like they're just feeding people to him and he's knocking them out, right? And it's people you don't want to see have long matches with him anyway, so you're not feeling shortchanged. Like sometimes you'd see Goldberg have a match during his push and you'd be like, God, I would have liked to have seen them fucking kick the shit out of each other for another few more minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see Tank Abbott wrestle, and I don't want to see Van Hammer wrestle for any longer than this match lasted. But I'm still mad that Van Hammer got an offensive move in. But anyway, after the slammer, Tank just gets up and hits the fucking knockout punch. And I will say, he folded like a fucking cheap suit to sell this knockout. So fair play to Van Hammer on this. But how are you enjoying the elevation of Tank Abbott so far?
This has been my favorite. This match was my favorite presentation of it. I thought this was a bunch of fun. Yeah. I agree. You don't want to see Tank Abbott selling, but yes. I also think, in spite of whatever offense Hammer hit, Tank never once sold. He was down for a second. He wasn't selling.
Yeah,
it's like, you see somebody in a fight, somebody gets a couple of punches in, but just because they get punches in doesn't mean the other person's hurt.
Now, obviously, we're still a while away from the absolute peak of the Tangaba push, where he would just rough up Mark Madden,
Yeah,
living out the dream of everybody watching WCW at the time.
for those concerned, and by those I mean Webcon, that is absolutely a nitro we will be doing.
Yeah, we need. I mean, I need to get the date on that. If somebody can get us the date on Tangaba beats the shit out of Mark Madden, we'll put that in the
Yes.
calendar if we don't already have it in.
But yeah, no, I thought this was the best presentation. I'd like, yeah, it's a push that shouldn't be happening, but fine, it's happening. Let's.
And I'm sure it's getting a lot of heat backstage. Like again, it's already resulted in Vince Russo being fired once.
Yeah.
Anyway, we move on. Nash is backstage. He's waiting for Jeff and the Harris brothers. He wants to meet with them. Lex and Liz come out to the ring. Says it must be great for the city to see a real star. Local sports team references, you know the bag.
Mm-hmm.
He's not out to brag about having Liz, who I think he calls the most beautiful manager in all professional wrestling, or him being the best physical specimen in the sport. He is now out to announce a merger with Ric Flair, which is great because I imagined Ric Flair coming out and them doing the fusion dance from Dragon Ball Z, and I can only imagine the unholy union of those two men's physical forms with one another. Flair says, we are not like you, we are a notch above. They list out, they've already done in Hogan and Funk, which is funny because the whole thing was they attempted to do in Funk, but Funk's still kicking. Funk and Dustin come out, and they challenge each other for the main event tonight. Now, Lee, in another world where Dustin was maybe doing a bit better physically and in his personal life, the idea of a Dustin Rhodes, Terry Funk, grumpy Southern wrestling team would light a fire under me like you wouldn't believe.
I had the thought that in another timeline, year 2000, Dustin Rhodes could have been WCW's Hangman Page.
I'm telling you, man, I don't want to say save the territory, but for me, like if I'm watching 2000, the two of them as like a proper tag run would be compelling enough reason to keep watching.
Well, time. You know the way we had the Texas or the West Texas Rednecks, and like they were the Cowboys and like healed, like the shit ass Cowboys.
Yeah,
I think in the year 2000, like WCW has kind of, because the audience has shrunk so much, I think what remained of the WCW audience would 100% have got behind a grumpy babyface cowboy fucking faction.
Like at its roots, it's a Southern-based promotion, and they do a lot of loops of the Southern states. We are long overdue. I can't think in our whole run of this show a consistently booked baby-faced kind of Southern / cowboy gimmick, which should be the bread and butter, you know.
So that's what I mean. Like if you had Funk and Rhodes, and I'm trying to think who could you have attached to them, like, but surely there was people around that they could have attached and just kind of had with them to make this, like, to complete this group.
I think that's great is like could have been just the two of them, because like Terry is a good enough crazy old man promo that it didn't, like if it was somebody else you could say right, stick Dusty in there as the mouthpiece of the two, but like you don't need that at this point.
You wouldn't have needed it because Dusty would obviously have taken away from Dustin.
But speaking of taking away from, one thing I didn't like about this segment is that Lex was like, I don't know if he was going into business for himself or if Terry just couldn't hear him tee up this stuff, but he kept saying Dustin is too much of a chicken to speak. And Terry just then was refusing to let Dustin have the microphone. So it looks like Lex was dead right.
Yeah. Listen, the most consistent character on these shows is Lex Luger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. We got a Mama Luke's promo. Got to see some fire here from Big Vito, which, like, I didn't write down a lot of what he said, but there was a lot of passion from a guy who hasn't been having microphones in his face for very long. Long story short, Crowbar better not make his mother cry again, or else.
Yeah, it's funny that the Mamalukes have just transitioned to being fiery Italian baby faces.
Yeah.
While Disco is still their manager.
Well, I said it from the moment he debuted. Is like people who haven't watched these shows before and are just watching along with us. You're not going to believe how over Vito gets with the WCW crowd by the middle of this year. And like, to be fair, I can't take it away from him. He never progressed beyond being like middle of the road as a wrestler. But he knew that we said it from early Mama Luke's tag matches. He listens to the crowd and knows how to give them what they want, even if he's not fucking an excellent ring general.
Isn't he like a US title pay-per-view challenger at some point in the run?
I want to say so.
I'm
I think
sure
he has one of the mid-card titles. Yeah, for sure.
I don't think he wins the US title, but I'm pretty sure he challenges on one of the pay-per-views.
I was almost certain I have it in my head that he has a belt at some stage.
I think he wins.
Does he feud with Lance?
I think he wins the hardcore title, and that's when Lance wins all the titles.
Yeah.
Again,
which, by the way, cannot wait for that.
Dave, I am so jonesing for Lance Storm show.
I'm chomping at the bit for the 1 month where Mike Awesome was killing people, and then the Lance Storm run is all that's. It's all that we have left. It's all that we have that'll get us through the rest of this. Yeah, so he's a 2-time hardcore champion. One of which was a joint hardcore championship win with Johnny the Bull, and then 2 times World Tag Team Champion, also with Johnny the Bull. Yeah. Anyway.
Also, Sicilian stretcher match at the pay-per-view.
Yes. Tag team match. Billy Kidman and Vampiro versus the Harris Brothers. Vamp fighting off both brothers while Kidman waits for tag. So they're doing the classic. We all love it, folks. The can they coexist? Fucking dog shit. And speaking of dog shit, this is a phenomenally dull match, Lee.
Oh, it's so bad.
They do the fake out walkout, but it happens so quickly. There's not even enough time for the crowd to react. Like Vamp walks out. And then he's back in time for the finish, which is like 30 seconds later. But I gotta laugh that less than 2 minutes in, one of the Harris brothers gets completely either lost or blown up and just grabs a rest hold.
Oh my God.
2 minutes into a 4-minute match.
I was going to say, like, it's amazing how blown up one of the Harrises gets. I can't remember which one it was or like what happened, but like just in my notes, I have like one of the Harris brothers is so blown up in this match, and it's not a long match.
Genuinely, 2 of the worst wrestlers to have made significant amounts of money out of wrestling ever. Like, I would much rather watch the Insane Clown Posse have tag team matches every week.
Yeah, I mean,
at least there was a significant fear that one of them would die or one of their trousers would fall down.
At least Violent J did the moonsault.
Yeah, exactly. That dude worked. But yeah, so Vamp does the fake out walkout, comes back in time to be bonked with a chair. This chair shot, by the way, a 300-pound plus man coming off the middle rope, and he taps him with the chair. Like, I'm not saying decapitate the man, but I'm saying, can you not do a work chair shot that looks remotely good?
Well, see, he needed Ron Simmons to threaten him.
Because, like, look, I don't want to denigrate the entire. I like that, by the way. I don't want to denigrate the entire oeuvre of hardcore wrestling, and I don't want to sound like Lanza here. But hardcore deathmatch wrestling, not always, but sometimes is the refuge of people who can't work technical wrestling matches, right? Because it's easier to swing a prop at someone's head than it is to work a match with deep ring psychology. Okay. Harris Brothers can't even swing a chair at somebody's head. And you won't catch me complimenting this man that much on the show. Brian Knobbs could swing a chair at someone's head. You know what I mean? Fucking Axel Rotten could swing it, and Balls Mahoney could swing chairs at people's heads. Although, like, Balls, we could talk a lot about. He actually could wrestle.
He actually could wrestle.
He just never did.
He just didn't want to.
Yeah. Very much the Orange Cassidy of his day.
Yeah.
It's always been said.
But God, yeah, no, the Harris, they fucking suck at everything, man.
Yeah. And then a maddening thing again for psychology, I fucking hate when this happens, is that the whole time this is happening, Tori is distracting the ref. But, like, it's not so her team will gain an advantage. I hate when that happens. It's so fucking stupid. It makes
It's
all the baby faces in this case look absolutely stupid.
I will say I've been so fucking vindicated the past couple of months that everybody has come around to my thinking that Bryce Remsburg is a fucking stain
You were
on
ahead of the
modern
curve on
wrestling.
that. You were ahead of the curve on that.
Oh man, I
Because
fucking
when people were all on the fuck Rick Knox early in AEW, you were like, no, 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 no.
Remsburg is the fucking worst. And see that like the leaning out the ropes and pointing out exactly where the fucking chair needs to go,
Yeah.
or talking to the man. Oh man, but yeah, no, the WCW refs obviously weren't good.
Yeah. And look, I will take once in a blue moon if you do the distraction blowing up in your face thing, if it happens to heels and makes them look like idiots, but you've made your baby faces and your baby face tag team and the woman you're pushing as like the her and Miss Hancock as the new eye candy of the company.
Mm-hmm.
You're making them all look like fools.
Yep.
So phenomenally bad bit business here. Not to mention the fact that the fucking Harris brothers won.
Yeah, I mean that's always a bad time, but
Yeah.
but also I just want to point out while I'm bringing him up, Ramsburg. It's not only the fact that he does
Straight
that,
back to it. Straight
and
back to
he
sticking the boot.
and he is the worst. But what gets me even worse is after he does a distraction finish, he has to let the audience know that I think that guy was involved, but I can't prove it. But I'm so smart that I know he was involved. He does the other thing where he looks and he points at them and is like,
Yeah.
are you involved?
I know we've come up for I know we've had the idea before about different things you could do as a forfeit if ever we have a bet on the show, but would one of the things be high on the list for you to do a podcast review of Invisible Man versus Visible Stan, where the whole match is just Bryce?
Mm. Yeah, that fucking match is what got his fucking ego out of control because of the praise he got.
Anyway, let's move on. The Philadelphia street fight. It's Big Vito versus Crowbar. Right at the start of this, we see Gormbar making their entrance backstage, and the Mamalukes jump them, lock Daff and Gormless idiot David Flair away, and begin beating on Crowbar. Now, at this point, logic vacates the premises because they've locked away Crowbar's advantage, but the Mamalukes, who are full of vengeance and want to take these guys out, they now have a 3-on-1 advantage against Crowbar in a street fight backstage. And Disco and Johnny just fucking stand there and be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Get him. Yeah. And even when Crowbar has moments where he like crowbars up, they just stand there like fucking tools.
They they're honoring the sanctity of pro wrestling street fights.
Yeah, I guess. They do spots on the cars. It really kind of it had a hot start where like the Mamalukes outsmart Gormbar and lock two of them away, and then it really pulls into neutral, and it's just like there's spots on cars, and apart from one spot, it was very dull, which is the bit where Crowbar tried to impale Vito on a metal pole and put through the windscreen of the car instead. That was cool.
It's just a total like the moves they're doing are so low impact.
Yeah,
on the cars.
And the bit where Crowbar goes up high onto the balcony takes so long and is so anticlimactic, where he just stumbles off, falls onto it, and then Vito does his elbow drop for 3. Like it really should just been him slamming Crowbar and then him going up high and doing the elbow drop. They just overthought it.
You say up high, he's a good.
It's not that much higher. It's like 2 foot higher.
I was just going to say he's about 2.5 feet above Crowbar when he drops the elbow.
Yeah. Nash talking on the phone to Scott about ruining someone's night. We then...
Speaking of ruining nights and referees.
One of the things that I didn't expect WWF to take from WCW for the invasion was the idea of people wanting to see refs fight. We get a singles match after seeing clips of our referee corps coming apart at the seams and fighting. And that is Slick Johnson with the Harris brothers. So we get a double dose of Harrises. The Harrises are all over the show because they've got 3 backstage segments as well, versus Mickey J. Now, very thankful that this was quicker than a hiccup. I did laugh at how fucking is Slick Johnson. This is going to be lost on at least half the audience, so I'm so sorry. Is Slick Johnson the Mark Clattenburg of professional wrestling? Like, just fucking like it is funny that like how much he leans into the bit about him loving himself. Like
Mm-hmm.
him coming out in the cutoffs and the big stone cold knee pads and elbow pads did make me laugh, but I don't know how much of it was for the bit or how much he thought he was playing wrestler in his head.
Well, the fact that he continued to wear the cut-off shorts and knee pads in
Yeah.
TNA
Yeah.
kind of answers your question there.
Yeah. Because like with Charles Robinson, I will consent that like him doing the Nate bit a few months ago,
Uh-huh.
it's 100% for the bit. Like he didn't think he looked cool.
But also, Charles Robinson is one of the best bumpers in the business.
100%. And best sprinters, as we'd find out years later. Um,
Um,
slick sneak attack. Like I love this as well that the young jacked referee has to wait to be able to jump the middle-aged out of shape referee from behind to get an advantage.
See, I would have liked if they actually gave the story that Mickey J was a worker.
Yeah.
Like that would have added context to say, right, well, that's why Johnson's a bit afraid of him.
Yeah. Because what happens here is it looks like you had to get the interference from the 300-pound men to beat the middle-aged guy.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens. Mickey avoids an elbow drop and gets the mount on him, and then one brother immediately comes in to distract the ref, and the other brother attacks Mickey, pin, shite. Then we get. I'm gonna hand over to you for this because I'm fucking done with this guy. Knobs yelling to himself, leading to a cast match. Lee, just to set the context for you talking about this segment, they have been doing this Brian Knobs and Fit Finlay storyline, if you want to call it that, for it feels like 20 years.
Yep.
And this, which is tantamount to a blow off to this feud, is less about the feud and more about how everybody in the match has a broken arm. I give you the floor.
But it's also not just about that. It's about, remember when Jimmy Hart revived the First Family?
Yeah.
And Brian Knobs was the fucking gem of the First Family.
Yeah. The crown jewel.
The crown jewel. And, you know, it's now Jimmy Hart, like Knobs very quickly went away from Hart and joined with Finlay to become his recruit or private or whatever the fuck they were calling him. And then obviously they did the Finlay split very quickly, but now they've been feuding for fucking ever. So the story goes that Jarrett, when he was commissioner, set up a match with Luger for Finlay, and he had his arm broken. So then when Nash returned, he set up a match with Knobs and Luger, where Knobs had his arm broken. Jimmy Hart, who's a friend of Hulk Hogan's in the storyline, had his arm broken by Luger for obvious reasons. So now we have a match where it's Finlay versus Knobs with Jimmy Hart as a ref for
which
no apparent
isn't
reason.
Mentioned until they're already in the ring. Oh yeah, Jimmy Hart's the referee and he also has a broken arm.
But don't forget, Jimmy Hart's a babyface now.
Yeah.
Because he's Hogan's friend.
Fucking.
Oh, sorry, I don't even think they say friend. I think they actually say manager. I think he's actually Hogan's manager on TV. Anyway, so the match is bollocks.
I call it the Dull Men's Club Derby here.
It's like absolute bollocks. Imagine how bad a Fifth in the Brian Knobs match is, and then imagine the two of them selling pain in their casts.
Yeah. Yeah, imagine both of them and the referee have reduced mobility.
Yeah. So Finlay hits the Finlay roll, but Hart can't count because his cast.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense because he has another arm.
And also he was appointed referee. You'd imagine that's something they would have checked.
Well, I mean, it's WCW, so.
Yeah.
So then Knobs just hits Finlay with his cast and Hart does a fast count with his good hand. Yeah. So Jimmy Hart is no longer a face aligned with Hulk Hogan. He's now a heel aligned with Brian Knobs again. And apparently he hates Finlay.
Well, I hate them.
But it was a cast match, and only one of them used their cast. Make it make sense.
No, I refuse to. And even if I wanted to, I couldn't. But we continue the broken arm segment after the Super Brawl ad. So they do a Super Brawl ad. And then we get a flashback to Lex breaking Hogan's arm.
Yeah.
We then get a Hulk Hogan promo at your local shopping mall's photo studio. Love this because you want to talk about we talked about in the Observer about how Hogan was coming back and big timing everybody like Billy Kidman. So the two takeaways from his promo is I'm going to embarrass Lex Luger at the pay-per-view, and also this NWO that are running around now are a bunch of fucking geeks. Because he basically said 4 years ago the NWO started and I was in it and it was cool. Not these guys though.
Yeah, and I was Hollywood and I ruled the place. Basically, you're going, remember when I was that bad guy and the company was good?
Yeah. Which is a hell of a babyface line.
Do you know what? And I have to say, before they went to Hogan's promo, Heenan did a bit, and Heenan actually brought up context, and he mentioned the second ever Nitro,
Wow.
and mentioned about Luger had Hogan in the rack and Hogan like tapping out.
Mm-hmm.
Like one man did the fucking work.
One man who's barely mentally there at this point.
Yeah.
We get our main event, and you want to talk about disappointing. Dustin Rhodes and Terry Funk versus Ric Flair and Package. Now, the first 30 seconds are very promising because the match immediately breaks down into a brawl, and Terry Funk goes, fuck this, and tries to pile drive Rick through the announce table.
I meant to say this when we got the Terry and Dustin coming out earlier on the night. Did you notice that Dustin is now dressing identically like Terry?
Yes.
Down to wearing a Funk You t-shirt and all.
Yeah. Well, I would too if I was seeing with Terry, to be fair.
So,
but I love that again, trying to pile drive him through the table, call back. I love there's very little, like we just said, with Heenan bringing in a bit of context. There's very little continuity in this company, but one bit of continuity is Terry Funk wants to try and kill Ric Flair.
He very much hates Ric Flair and always has.
Yeah. And he hit all the spots about fucking banana nose, etc., early on in the show as well. Unfortunately, from that point, although there is a bit like where Rick tries to do the top rope thing and Funk pulls him off the top rope, obviously. Apart from that,
it's a nothing match.
Fuck all. It's fuck all.
There's like a hot tag, and I inverted commas hot tag to Dustin that lasts. I want to say 15 seconds.
Yeah. And then we get the ending via baseball bat, where Dustin's ankle gets cracked by Liz, and then Liz passes to Lex, bops him in the head, and then Flair puts the figure 4 on an unconscious Dustin for the win.
Yep.
4. And then the main event of the whole show is a 30-second segment where Nash confronts the lads, bans Harris Brothers from the building on Sunday, and then Jeff hits him with a guitar and says, as the show is fading to black, choke on that 6 string.
Yeah.
That's your go home for the pay-per-view.
Yep. I mean, look, they only had one person in the building that's in the main event.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a game to do, but before that, let's sum up the show. Lee, give me your overall thoughts on the show. Give me your winners and losers, please.
It was a fucking dog shit show.
Yeah.
Like
we're back at it, buddy.
It was a really, really bad show.
Yeah.
Like literally the first match blows up the fucking cruiserweight tournament that they've been building because somebody can't get in the country. Like you say, the wall, there's just no consistency. Tank Abbott is getting pushed. We had a Harris Brothers tag. The street fight was fucking very little happening. A referee's match, a fucking cast match, and then that really disappointing main event. Like that was the rundown of the show.
Yeah.
It's just bad. Like I don't know. Vito was the winner because he cut a good promo.
Yeah. Vito, and like if you didn't know better, you would be inclined to give it to Dustin because it's like compared to what he had been doing when he was a haunted pedophile a few months ago,
Yeah.
sticking him with Terry Funk is definitely an elevation, even though he looked like just his young boy.
Yeah, but it's
Uh,
it's hard to it's hard to put over Dustin too much because, like, obviously, with context, we now know Dustin was not in a good place personally or mentally at that time.
Yeah. Biggest losers, obviously you and me, because we're back.
Hey,
The finish counter brought to you by Ludwig Borga has 7 matches on this show with 4, surprisingly, clean finishes, 1 interference leading to a finish, 1 miscellaneous shenanigan, and 1 via knockout. Okay, Lee, Super Brawl is coming up next. That will be our next podcast on the free feed here at Voices of Wrestling. Your game, again, if this is new territory for anybody joining the show, welcome. What Lee tries to do, because the original conceit of this show was to see if we can make sense of WCW by just watching Thunder. So one of the things that is key to that is being able to see how hyped you are for the pay-per-view by being able to recite the card. So Lee's job after the go home show every month is just based on his own watching and not Googling and not reading and having conversations with me. It's trying to figure out the entire card for the pay-per-view and see how close he gets. Lee, I can tell you that this is an 11 match card.
of course it is.
Okay.
And that's main cards. That's not including like fucking dark matches or anything like that. Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. So
I will say, in terms of, by the way, if you were looking for upsides, is the longest match we've to try get through is a 15-minute match.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of these matches are half the length, but will feel twice as long.
I will add the context, and I've mentioned this many times on the show. I had Super Brawl 2000 on VHS. It was one of the last WCW shows I had, and it was around this time. I've mentioned before. It was around this time I kind of stopped getting WCW regularly.
Mm-hmm.
So I do recall some of the show. So main event.
Yep.
World Heavyweight Title 3-way. Sid, Scott Hall, Jarrett.
Yes.
Tag team title match, stretcher match. The Mamalukes against Gormbar, as you were calling them.
Yes.
Hogan versus Luger.
Yes.
Funk versus Flair.
Yes. You have now got all the top 4 matches.
Okay.
So if you're not already hyped listening at home, the remaining 7 are significantly less promoted.
Kidman versus Vampiro.
Yes. You're doing this basically in reverse order almost.
Oh, really? Okay. Norman against Tree Count.
Yes. So you're at 6 now.
The Artist and Lash.
Yes. That's 7. 4 remain.
Now, who is the TV champion?
There is no TV championship at the moment still.
Oh, there isn't. That's right. Okay, so that's gone. There's no US.
There is still 1 title match left on the show.
There's no US title match because Jarrett is US champ. So it has to be the hardcore title.
Yes. Do you even remember who the champion is?
It's
because he wasn't on the show.
Bam Bam.
It is Bam Bam.
And Bam Bam is facing.
You're going to laugh at this, by the way.
The Demon?
No.
I'll come back to that one.
Okay.
Now,
I will say, I'll give you a little hint. The Demon is on the show, just not in that match.
Okay. So the Demon is in a cold match. Booker versus Big T?
Yeah. For the ownership of Harlem Heat and the letter T.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's the letter T match. What else
3 left, I think it is.
So 3. So 1 is the hardcore match, 1 is the Demon match. And what's the other one?
And then the other one is a stip match that was mentioned on this show. I can give you the stip, but it will give the match away.
Did DDP doesn't have a match.
Nope.
Okay. The Wall has to have a match. Or is it the Wall versus the Demon?
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
Dog shit.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure we've seen that match like about 5 times.
So you now have the hardcore match and the
Other match
unspecified stip match.
Dude,
By the way, the Ric Flair Terry Funk match you mentioned earlier is a Texas Death match. And that is the longest match on the show.
Okay, I'm gonna make a guess for, is it Knobs versus Bam Bam for the title?
It is Knobs with Fit Finlay.
Oh, okay. I'm not even gonna try and make sense.
Funny.
I'm not even gonna try and make sense of it. Okay, last stip match that is mentioned on the show. I am at a loss.
Would you like me to give you the stip? You'll get it
Over.
straight away.
Yeah,
You'll get at least one of the participants straight away. You might have forgotten who his opponent is. It is a skins match.
Oh, it's Tank and Big Al.
It's Tank and Big Al.
Big Al's one and only appearance on paper.
Yeah. Okay, you did well enough there. Although maybe if you count the fact that you actually own this show, maybe not as well. You've actually done better on pay-per-views you've never seen.
Listen, I don't want to. I would like to think doing well is not the aim on this team.
Oh, what would we be doing here after 100 of these if doing well was the goal?
But yeah, oh God, I'm not looking forward to watching this again.
Well, there's your tease for next week. Okay, folks, it's been great to be back in the saddle. Days of Thunder back with you on the way to Super Brawl 2000. Thanks for tuning in.
I was just going to say, on the way to episode 200 of Thunder, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The road
more
to 200
these.
begins. Yeah.
The road to until we careen into a wall at some stage halfway through that process. Anyway, thanks very much, everybody, for listening to our return show. We'll be back much sooner than the last time to talk all things Super Brawl 2000. Check us out over at largemanappears.com as well for more treats in between main feed shows. Thank you all very much for listening. We'll see you again soon.
Hi, I'm Case Lowe, co-host of the Open the Voice Gate podcast. The one question I'm constantly asked when it comes to Dragon Gate is how do I get into the promotion? Well, stop asking and start listening to the Open the Voice Gate podcast, released every Wednesday on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. For exclusive news and show reviews, look no further than the leader in Dragon Gate coverage, Open the Voice Gate.
Hey kids, Jeff Hawkins from Shake Them Ropes here, and for almost 15 years we have been part of Voices of Wrestling. Myself and Chris Novembrino give a review of that week's news, the lazy river of wrestling criticism of that week's WWE and AEW, and then Vader Club, where we watch something from one of our past, or something we may have missed. Smart, snarky, and sometimes serious, but not always. That's us, and if that's your vibe, we'd love to have you listen to Shake Them Ropes every week on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.